welcome to Sarah's Stampin' Retreat. Today I'll be showing you some different ways to use your stencils. I'll be using a lot of different products, but it's all to do with the stencils and different techniques. So I'll link all the products that I use at the bottom, so that if there's anything you come across that you fancy, then you'll be able to find the link below. But I'm going to use a lot of products, so don't feel like you need them all. It's just about the techniques. You've probably got a lot of the things to do the techniques in your collection, and hopefully it will encourage you to use stencils. So I've got two sets of the Stampin' Up! Stencils here. I've got these ones, which are the Adorning Designs Decorative Masks. So in this set you get this one, you get this one, you get this one, and you get this one. And for those you'll have to hurry because they're only available while stocks last until 3rd of January. And then this set is part of the annual catalogue, so this will be available until the end of May. So we've got this one with these nice motifs. We've got this one. I think that would be lovely for like an undersea theme card. We're going to use it for a plant card today. And then we've got this kind of graphic one, and we've also got this one with the flowers on it. So we're just going to have a play today and hopefully show you some nice techniques that you can use. So my first card today, I've got a top folding A6 card blank made out of thick Whisper white cardstock. So that's 11 3/4 by 4 1/8 inches, and that's scored and folded in half. And then this piece of basic black measures 3 1/2 by 5 1/4 inches, and this piece is 1/8 of an inch smaller. So that's 3 3/8 by 5 1/8 inches, and that is Pool Party. Then I've got this piece, which is the same width as this, and it's about 1 3/4 high. So that's just basic white cardstock. And then I'm going to use this jar of flower stamp set, so it's really cute with all the different flowers that you can then put on top of the jars. They're actually quite a lot bigger than it shows on the front, so you can see here, this is the size of the jar versus the front, so it's a lot bigger than it looks. So I'm going to start with the piece of Pool Party cardstock, and I'm going to use this stencil from the Adorning Designs Decorative Mask. And I'm just going to place that over my piece of Pool Party cardstock. I'm going to use the Coastal Cabana ink and a piece of sponge. You can see this is like a piece of craft sponge that I've just used for lots of things, but it's clean, it's just discoloured. So you can use any old craft sponge or like blending sponge. And I'm just going to dab it in here, and then I'm just going to dab this on here so that it goes through the mask. You can see now I've got this nice background print, and I can just run that stencil under a tap just to rinse off the excess ink. So then I'm going to layer that onto here. So then I'm just going to use this Happy Birthday, which is from this Peaceful Moment stamp set, which has got lots of nice sentiments on it. It's a really good kind of like all-rounder. And I'm just going to stamp that in black memento ink down here. And then I'm just going to glue that to the bottom of my panel. And then I'm going to glue that onto my card front. Then I'm going to take this piece of cardstock so that I can start building up my flowers. So I'm going to stamp the actual flowers first in my memento ink. And then I'm going to stamp the jar underneath. And then I'm going to use the back of this stamp, so you've got the proper stamp side, this side, and the back is obviously just flat because it's supposed to be the black of the stamp. But these stamps you can use double-sided, so I'm going to use that just to put some water. So this is Pool Party ink. I'm just using the back of this stamp just to put the Pool Party ink in the bottom of the jar. You can see then it looks like water. And then I'm going to use my Memento ink again and just do some stalks. Then I'm going to use my polished pink Pool Party and Old Olive Stampin' blends to colour these. So I'm just going to use the nib end just to do the these things. So this is a dark Old Olive that I'm using for the stems here. And then I'm just going to do a few of these bits of foliage in this colour too. And I'm going to pop in some bits of Pool Party as well. And I'm going to use my polished pink for the flowers. You can see each pen has this brush nib end and the chisel nib end. So I tend to use the brush nib the most, but if I'm doing something very straight like the stalks, then I tend to find the chisel nib easier. I'm just laying down a bit of dark and then I'm going to go over it and fill the whole flower with the light. And then I'm just going to do these little kind of berry bits in the dark pink as well. And just finish off these flowers with the pale polished pink. So then there are dies that coordinate with this stamp set, but I want to cut it really close to the edge of the stamp. I don't want the white border that you get with dies around the outside, so I'm actually just going to cut it by hand. So here, where I've got bits that I don't really want to cut out, they're a bit fiddly, I'm just going to colour those in Pool Party and then hopefully they'll kind of blend into the background. So I'm going to stick these down, so I'm going to glue the jar and then I'm going to grab some dimensionals and just stick the flowers on with dimensionals. So then here's our first card done. So then for my second card, I've got a petal pink card blank. So that measures 8 1/4 inches by 5 7/8 inches, scored and folded in half, and we're going to have it that way round. And then I've just got these pieces that layer up. And then these pieces, so we've got a piece of petal pink and a piece of basic grey, and they're both the same width as the card, so that's 5 7/8 inches. And then this piece is 3 1/4 and this piece is 3 1/2 inches high. I'm just going to take this piece, and this piece is the piece we're going to do our stenciling on. So I'm going to use this graphic one from the Plenty of Patterns decorative masks this time. I'm just going to place this over here and then I'm just going to tape it up here. The reason I'm going to tape it is so that I can lift it up and lift it down again as we go through. So I'm going to use my blending brush this time and I'm going to use my petal pink ink and I'm going to rub round on that. So I'm using a circular motion and I'm going to use a circular motion just to add it to my cardstock as well. So we're kind of going to get a tone on tone look here. So you can see we've got this nice tone on tone look now. I just want to add to that. So obviously you can also use the stencils to draw around. So I'm just going to add, I've got my basic grey Stampin' Right marker here. And just using this end here. So these have an end like that and a brush end. I'm just using the kind of writing end just to go round the outside of these shapes. So now you can see we've got this with the outlines as well. So it's a really nice kind of graphic background. So the next thing I want to do, I'm going to use this Dress to Impress stamp set. I'm going to stamp out a perfume bottle, sentiment, the shoe and the lipstick, all in the basic grey ink. And I'm going to colour them using my Smoky Slate and my Petal Pink blends. So then I'm just going to cut these out again, and again there are actually coordinating dies for these, but as they're just quite simple shapes, then I'm just going to cut around them. I think if I'm doing a lot of die cutting or I've got a lot of cards to make, then I'll cut them. But sometimes if I'm not doing very much die cutting, then I kind of think it's quicker just to cut around them if they're simple shapes rather than getting everything out. But I think if you aren't that keen on fussy cutting, then obviously like the dies are there. I quite enjoy it, which is why if I've not got too much to do, then I'll just cut around things. So I've just got a thin piece of basic grey cardstock, and I'm just going to cut like a corner off that end. So I'm just going to layer this all up. So now I'm going to glue on the lipstick. And perfume. And then I'm going to use my dimensionals just to add the shoe. And the sentiment. So that's my second card finished. Then for my third card, I've got a 5-inch square card blank that I've made out of Night of Navy. Then this is a 3¼ inch piece of Night of Navy cardstock, and this is a 3½ inch piece of gold foil sheet. And then I'm going to take this Plenty of Patterns, and I'm just going to centre one of these kind of, I guess you could maybe call them medallions, on my piece of Night of Navy cardstock. And then I'm going to just put some of this Versamark ink refill onto a sponge dauber. And if you've got sponge daubers, then they're probably quite a good thing to use instead of a sponge on the first card as well, where we use the yellow sponge. And then I'm just going to dab through all the holes on here. And I'm just going to put another drop on here. I'm going to dab again. As you can see, I've got a tone-on-tone image here, but what I want to do is just cover it in embossing powder so I can make it gold. let's just do this over here so I can pour it back into the pot afterwards. And what I should have done before I did that was just run over my embossing buddy or an anti-static sheet, just to get rid of like any excess oils from my hands or anything, because I don't want this extra little bit. It's fine because I'm just taking it off with my paintbrush. So then I'm just going to melt all this embossing powder with my heat tool. Then we've got this lovely focal point to our card. So then while I've got my embossing stuff out, I'm just going to use the thanks from this Biggest Wish stamp set. Actually, I might use this thanks instead. And I'm going to just emboss that. And I'm going to do it in gold again to be in keeping with my card. Then I'll use my Versamark ink pad for this one. And let's pour my gold embossing powder over again. So I've just cut down that sentiment so then we can layer up the card. And we're going to stick some dimensionals on the back. And then I'm going to pop some more dimensionals on the back of my sentiment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a single layer just here. Then on this end I'm going to put 2 layers because that's going to stick off the side of here and it'll be nice and straight. So that's our third card finished. So then I'm going to use this one from the Plenty of Patterns set for this one. And for this card I've got an A6 card blank made out of soft seafoam cardstock. And then this is 3 1/4 by 5 inches in shaded spruce. And this is just an 1/8 of an inch smaller, this piece of soft seafoam. So I'm just going to hold that at the top with a piece of washi tape. And we're going to create a bit of a kind of ombre look on this one. So I'm going to go light to dark so that I don't have to keep on washing my brush. So I'm going to go with the soft seafoam first. And I'm just going to start at the top. And I'm just going to brush some of that off. And you can see that even though it doesn't look like much from the top, you can start to see that colour coming through. So I'm going to do that probably about halfway down because I'm going to blend some of the Just Jade over the top. Then I'm going to go in the middle and Just Jade, because it's just a slightly darker shade of green, well quite a bit darker. Then I'm just going to put that across there. But you'll see that it doesn't actually, I can use the same brush without really affecting the colour because it was a lighter shade I was using previously. And then I'm going to go from the Just Jade into the shaded spruce. So let's just brush that off there. Just brush like the top bit off so it doesn't go all kind of like funny on me. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit more shaded spruce just to make the difference between the Just Jade and the shaded spruce a bit more. And then look, we've got a really nice kind of ombre type effect there. So I think I'm going to go back to the Peaceful Moments stamp set for the sentiment. I'm going to go with this Congratulations one. And I'm going to use my Versamark ink. I'm just going to heat emboss this Congratulations in white this time. I'm going to pour my white powder on. And I'm just going to heat that up. So I'm just going to layer this up on here. And then I'm going to cut this from, this is a sheet of the Plentiful Plants paper. It's really gorgeous. I'll just quickly show you the other papers that you get in this. So you get this one, this one, this one. So you can cut out all these top bits and put them in these plant pots so you can mix and match. And then you've got this one, which is the one I'm using, that already has them in the plant pots. And then you've got this tropically one, which I've used most of, with that on the back. So it's a really gorgeous pack, but we're just going to use this for now. So I'm just going to cut that out. So I've played around with the colours on this, and I think that it looks best this way. Yeah? So I'm just going to cut this at an angle here. And I'll have that there, and this kind of sitting on top of it. So let's just layer that all up. So let's pop some dimensionals on the back of here. And then I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of here as well. So that's our fourth card completed. Then for our fifth card, I've got a crumb cake A6 card blank. Then I've got a piece of 3.5 by 5 1/4 basic white cardstock, and the piece of crumb cake cardstock is 1/8 of an inch smaller than that. I'm going to use this piece here. And for this one, I'm going to use this stripy one from the Adorning Designs pack. Then let's just tape this down. So I'm going to go in with the crumb cake. So you also want to match your tools to the type of stencil as well, because this one's quite a loose stencil. Like there's the stripes kind of like bounce up and down. It wouldn't be as good for using my blending brush with, because when I go like this, the stripes would move. Whereas with this, at least it's moving up and down as opposed to side, so I'm still getting lines. So we've got these stripes. Now what I want to do is take my Evening Evergreen ink. I'm going to use this Forever Fern stamp set. I'm going to take a couple of images from this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp them through the stencil. And you have to push really quite hard to get an impression through the stencil. And then let's try a smaller one as well. And then you get this nice kind of textured print on the stripes. So if you use a stencil where there's kind of a lot more gaps rather than actual stencil, you can see it kind of a proper image. But on a stencil like this, you kind of get this like just textured look, which I quite like. So I'm going to use a scrap of Evening Evergreen cardstock, and I'm going to use the same congratulations we used for the last card, and I'm just going to white heat emboss those. I'm going to pour some white embossing powder on that. So then here I've got some foliage cut with these dies. These are the Forever Flourishing dies that coordinate with the stamp set we used on this card. So I used this one in Evening Evergreen, and this one in the gold foil sheet. You can see you get a lot of different foliage type things. A lot of them cut out these images from the stamp set as well. So let's layer this all up. So then I'm liking this sideways thing today, so I'm going to cut that off like that. And I'll pop these under there like that. Let's just move that down a bit. That's perfect. So I'm just going to glue those on there. Pop some on the back of here as well. And let's pop some dimensionals on the back of here. So there's our final card finished. Let's bring the rest in. Got quite an eclectic mix today because it's a technique one. So you can see there we've got 5 pretty different cards, all using different techniques with the stencils. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's video and that you got some good ideas for how to get more out of your stencils. If you did, I'd love to hear what your favourite technique is below, so please leave me a comment. I'd also really appreciate it if you clicked like below, and if you'd like to see future videos you can also press subscribe. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also send you notifications when I've got a new YouTube video available. All of the products that I've used today are linked in the description below, and there's also a host code there, so if you pop the host code into your basket before you check out, then I'll send you a free gift after the end of the month. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.